My name is Tracy Gillis. I am the practice lead for Business Central here at Encore. Welcome to the Dynamics GP to Dynamics 365 Business Central session. The topics I'm covering today is what is involved in a GP to BC implementation project, steps to take now, and some frequently asked questions. So, what's involved in a GP to BC project and how to start preparing? Moving from Dynamics GP to Dynamics Business Central is a fresh implementation into a new ERP software. We treat these projects as new implementations and have built some specific methodologies and implementation steps designed for moving our GP customers to Business Central. We use the following staged approach for implementation projects. Every project will have 4 stages. The first stage is analysis. Then we move on to the solution modeling stage, which is a combination of configuration and design and development. The third stage is deployment. And the final stage is operations, which means you are processing live data in Business Central. Let's take a look at the high-level tasks that happen in each of these stages. Starting with analysis. The analysis stage represents the official start of the implementation project. Since you are already one of our customers, we start these projects with collaboration between our GP and BC resources. The purpose of this is to review what we already know about you as a customer and transition that knowledge from our GP consultants to our Business Central consultants. This includes reviewing your environment, examining your data, as well as understanding the history of your GP support cases or projects. Then we move on to the analysis with your team. The overall goal is to document your business requirements related to Business Central. This is done by conducting several discovery meetings, usually broken out by functional area, where we interview your subject matter experts. We discuss your business requirements, data migration, as well as integration requirements. We also want to discover any gaps in technology, software, or business processes during this stage. The major deliverable at the end of the analysis stage is the functional requirements document. The next stage is solution modeling. There are 2 parts of this stage for the project, design and then development. However, these generally run concurrently. This is when we spin up the Business Central environment and start to execute on configuration and start the process of data migration. This includes loading things like your chart of accounts, customers, vendors, items, GL net changes for some sample months. Along with design, we also start executing the development tasks. These customizations can range from simple report modifications to complex functionality modifications. You will commonly need some cosmetic adjustments done to the out-of-box formats for things like checks, sales invoices, perhaps even purchase orders. If there were any gaps identified during the analysis stage, this is when we start working on solutions for those gaps. If there are any add-ons that are part of your project, this is also the time that those are installed and configured. Next, we have the deployment stage. This is where we introduce you to the environment and start training your trainers. We start with introduction new user training. and then move on to more specific training, generally organized by the functional areas of Business Central, like accounts payable, accounts receivable, inventory management, etc. One of the most important parts of deployment is user acceptance testing. Once we have trained you in Business Central, it's critical that you go through a process called user acceptance testing. The purpose of this task is to allow your subject matter experts to test through all of the use cases you will have compiled. This should be as comprehensive as possible and include everything from creating new customers to posting and paying vendors. We support you through this process as there's likely going to be questions, and it's possible there could be some reconfiguration that is needed. Perhaps the payment terms need to be updated or you need more of them. This is also when your subject matter experts train your remaining staff. Once you've done a successful user acceptance testing, then we move on to the operations stage, which we refer to as go live. In this stage, you will be processing all new transactions into Business Central. This is also when we load your final balances for accounts receivable, accounts payable, your bank balances, inventory balances, and the final GL net changes. We support you through this stage for the first month with a goal of getting you through your first month end. The last step of the operation stage is when we transition you to our Encore care team for continued support on Business Central. My next topic is, how long does it take? There are two major components in determining how long an implementation project takes. The first of which is scope. We classify most projects as small, medium, or large. It's broadly defined by how many modules are being used, but we also factor in things like the complexity of your business processes, the volume of data, and what, if any, add-ons or customizations are being done. Generally speaking, when we're talking about modules, a small project is one that has general ledger, accounts payable, accounts receivable, and cash management. A medium-sized project takes all of those same modules and adds in purchasing or sales and inventory, or all three. A large project contains all of those same things, as well as adding in manufacturing or warehousing. These size classifications are a bit of an ish, and by that I mean there are other factors that can impact a project that would change its classification. Things like, how complex are your business processes? Are they documented? What about your data? How much data do you have? Is it thousands of master records, or do you just have a few hundred? Tasks like customizations or integrations could make a small project transition into a medium project, even though there are not more modules being used. Also impactful is possible add-ons. How many do you have? Do you have integrations? Do you have custom reports? All of these questions that we explore during the analysis phase helps us define what the final project timeline would be, as less of one thing or more of another could change a small project into a large, or even a medium project into a small. The second major component to determining how long a project will take is the intent of the project. And there's two approaches here: lift and shift or modernization. The lift and shift approach focuses on getting up and running in the new software, but not changing anything else. Keeping all of your business processes and procedures as close to the same as possible allows your team to focus on adapting to the new software. In this approach, you're not really exploring any new functionalities to improve your business or even reimagining business processes based on new tools or new functionality available. The purpose is not to optimize, but to meet your minimum viable operational needs. For example, if you are not currently emailing remittance reports to your vendor, you would not tackle that in a lift and shift approach, even though it is something that can be done with standard functionality out of Business Central. Customers that take this approach understand there is more that they will want to accomplish at a later point in time, and often choose to initiate an optimization project after a period of stabilization in Business Central. The second approach in terms of intent is modernization. This approach is the opportunity to improve processes and efficiencies. The analysis sessions are designed to help review outdated processes or ongoing pain points and evaluate what can be done to modernize your business. The purpose is to do a true evaluation on what your business really needs and then help you get there. Recognizing that you're moving to a new software with a desire to analyze your business so you can take advantage of new things with new functionality or other tools. In this case, you would consider it almost as much of a business improvement project as it is an ERP software implementation. Projects with this intent likely lead to a change in your established procedures and introducing new technologies into the project to address any gaps. A quick summary of the pros and cons for the two approaches. For the lift and shift approach, it's a marginally shorter timeline. It is less disruptive to established processes. On the con side, it doesn't really explore areas of improvement, and it may not be as cost effective. For modernization, some pros are it explores and solves existing pain points, and it takes a holistic look at your business. On the con side, it's likely a longer timeline. It's important to understand where you fall in regards to intent. The changes to Business Central will inherently change how your teams interact with the system, as GP and BC are two different softwares. Do you want to just get there? Then you lift and shift. Do you want to evaluate and optimize? Then you are on the modernization path. In speaking about timelines in the previous slide, I thought I would expand on this. Timelines for Business Central implementation projects can range anywhere from 4 months to a full year. However, the categorization of small, medium, or large, which is your scope, along with your intent, which is lift and shift or modernization, can help provide some rough guidelines. When you're categorized as a small, we have a typical 3 to 5 month implementation period. If you're considered a medium, that's typically around 4 to 6 months. If you are categorized as a large, that can be 6 to 9 months or even a year. Let's say that your project would be small. However, you want to approach it with an intent towards modernization, where you would add in new things like EFT or AP automation, and perhaps a few different integrations with, say, your billing software. That would move your project from a small to perhaps a medium. Next up is steps users can take to start preparing. Document your processes. Do you already have this documented? Is it current? Documenting your process is the roadmap to your business operation. It highlights if everyone is on the same page with internal and external processes. It identifies inefficiencies with procedures. It identifies inefficiencies with software. Going through the steps of documenting or updating your business processes can really help clarify your intent, lift and shift, or modernization. The next area you could do in advance of starting a project is a data review. Now is an opportunity to review and evaluate your data. Can you cleanse your master data records like GL accounts, customers, vendors, items? Can you close inactive records? Can you merge duplicate records? You can verify your subledgers are in balance to your GL. You can review reports. Are they outdated, invaluable, etc.? The next topic is pain points. You can examine your pain points. Are there problems in your business processes right now? Are too many people involved in your purchasing approvals procedure, for example? Do you need approval set up for new customers or new vendors? And that's all being tracked through email at the moment. Do you need or could you benefit from automation? For example, currency exchange rates, updating daily. Do you have a lot of manual processes that are happening outside of the system? For example, are you exporting and compiling data for reports? Closely related to pain points is your wish list. Wish list are the features in Business Central you want to explore. There are several things in Business Central that are not available in GP. The mere fact that you are moving to a cloud-based software allows you the opportunity to explore what is out there. Workflow approvals is an example. Do you want to formalize and automate your workflow approvals? Email invoicing. Are you scanning and then emailing invoices as a separate step? BC produces PDFs as part of its email function. What about currency rate automations? What about automating your intercompany transactions? And reporting tools. There are several that are out there that can really help you own your data and provide you a great stepping point in a modern software. Again, this can all have an impact on your intent and would make your project a modernization approach rather than lift and shift. The last topic is a few frequently asked questions. What are the differences? One of the major changes is that you will be going from an on-premise environment to a cloud-based solution. One of the major impacts that we saw during the initial stages of lockdown was that our customers who were working in Business Central had very little, if any, downtime. You can log into your environment anywhere that you can get to an internet connection. So the downtime or the shift at the beginning of the lockdown was very minimal for customers using Business Central. Another big difference, segments versus dimensions. The chart of accounts within GP can be hundreds of lines long due to segments. In Business Central, your chart is much smaller as it typically is made from your natural segment. Then, generally speaking, your additional segments transition into Business Central dimensions. During the analysis phase, we work with you to help determine how to transition segments into dimensions. It's not always a one-to-one correlation, but often it can be. Another difference would be payroll. Payroll is a standard function within GP, and in Business Central, it requires an add-on. Speaking of add-ons, when I did a quick check earlier this month, the last count for add-on apps for Business Central was over 3,000 apps. Like any app for any product, some of these are small and simple, and some of these are complex and require evaluation and possibly services to implement. Payroll is a good example of one of those. AP automation may also be another example. We are often asked what happens to the historical data left in GP. There are a lot of different options here. It's just a matter of how you may want to access that data. You can preserve your hardware, downgrade your licenses to a few, and then access that data as needed. There are also some tools designed for this. Some of them are Azure Data Lake and PopDoc. It can even be as simple as exporting to a SQL environment and accessing that data via reporting tools. I also want to take a moment to talk about a Microsoft data migration tool to move GP data into Business Central. There have been 2 versions of this tool, and just this month there has been a 3rd update. We have tested and explored this tool previously, and although it can work for some areas of the system, we have found that there are areas that definitely need some improvement. So we do not factor this tool into any of our projects at this point. However, we will be evaluating this new update in the coming weeks. And if the tool's improvements are as we hope, this may factor into your project as a way to store your GP data. Another question that comes up often is downtime. In reality, there is not a lot of system downtime. A go live is more about split focus between finishing up the closing month activity in GP and starting new month activity in Business Central. A typical go live timeline, your first week is geared towards finish processing month end in GP. Let's say your go live is June. On the first day of June, your team will be focused on finishing your May transactions in GP. Concurrently, your team would be able to immediately start posting June transactions in Business Central. Having said that, realistically, it is often 2, 3, or even 5 days before your team is done focusing on month end of May in GP and ready to start posting June data in Business Central. That would be for your finance team. If, say, for example, you have sales orders, it would be very common for all new sales orders starting to be processed for June in Business Central. So it really is a balance of work effort between the various teams. The second week of go live is usually focused on getting the remainder of your balance forwards in. This would be for outstanding accounts receivable, accounts payable, and then eventually the GL net changes for the remaining months into Business Central. To finish off, we here at Encore are excited to help guide your path to Business Central, and we would be happy to answer any questions you may have.